The Las Vegas Raiders flew to Washington, D.C. full of hope and determination, hoping to make a bold statement in the 2025 season. Instead, they were met with a harsh dose of reality. Against the Washington Commanders, the Raiders' defense, the unit many relied on as the backbone of the team, showed alarming flaws that fans and analysts couldn't ignore. Backup quarterback Marcus Mariota cut through the Las Vegas secondary like a hot knife through butter, throwing for over 40 points and exposing a defense that at times looked unprepared, disorganized, and far from cohesive. The result? A game that reignited questions about whether the Raiders team has truly improved or is repeating the mistakes of seasons past. Amidst the defensive chaos, there was one single bright spot that fans clung to. DE Max Crosby recorded a sack on Mariota, marking his second of the season and extending his total of games with multiple tackles for loss to 28, tying him with legends Von Miller and T.J. Watt. Crosby's individual brilliance also helped the Raiders extend their sack streak to 38 consecutive games, the second longest active streak in the NFL and the franchise's longest since the mid-1980s. While this milestone provided a momentary sense of pride, it underscored how dependent the Raiders had become on individual talent to mask systemic defensive issues. However, even Crosby's heroics couldn't mask the deeper problems. The pass rush was inconsistent, explosive in short bursts but lacking in crucial moments. Crosby forced pass rushes, but without consistent pressure from the rest of the defensive line, these moments failed to deter Mariota or slow the Commanders' offensive pace. And while the occasional sack was a highlight, it was the ground defense that truly collapsed, allowing Washington to rush for 201 yards and dictate the pace of the game. The Raiders' defensive line, which had been praised for its dominance early in the season, looked overwhelmed at times, failing to fill gaps, stop the second level, or prevent explosive runs. The secondary, meanwhile, frequently lost its way in coverage, allowing Mariota to exploit mismatches and connect on critical plays. By the fourth quarter, it was clear flashes of talent couldn't mask a defense in disarray. The implications of this collapse are both immediate and far-reaching. Analysts and fans are asking tough questions. What changes will head coach Josh McDaniels and defensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt implement to address these glaring issues? Pressure alone isn't enough in a 2025 NFL landscape where offenses are faster, quarterbacks more precise, and play calls more sophisticated than ever. The Raiders need cohesion, strategic adjustments, and disciplined execution at every level of the defense. Cornerbacks, safeties, linebackers, and defensive line. Without them, even standout players like Crosby can't compensate, and the team risks falling further behind in the standings. The defensive shortcomings also put extra pressure on the Raiders' offense. Star players like Brock Bowers now face an uphill battle, knowing that any mistake or stagnation on their part can be exploited by opposing defenses that recognize Las Vegas's vulnerabilities. Geno Smith and the offensive line will also be under constant scrutiny, tasked with balancing play action, pass protection, and an underdeveloped running game. Every misstep can turn into points for the opponent, creating a scenario where even a competent offensive performance may not be enough to win. In 2025, fans are increasingly aware that the Raiders' margin for error is slim. Washington's 41-point outburst wasn't just a crushing defeat, it was a wake-up call. If the defense doesn't rediscover its form, the Raiders could face a series of games where no amount of offensive effort will be enough to compensate. The team's ability to adjust in the coming weeks, through scheme changes, player trades, or motivational leadership, will determine whether they salvage the season or see it slip away. Looking ahead, every game is now a high-stakes battle. The Raiders must answer difficult questions. Can the pass rush become consistent? Will the secondary strengthen in coverage? Can the ground defense finally limit explosive plays? And most importantly, can the team restore confidence in a unit that has become unpredictable, even against backup quarterbacks? One thing is certain, time is ticking, the league is watching, and the Raiders can't wait any longer. Fans will be watching, and with the Raiders' defense faltering in Washington, the spotlight has turned to the offense, and nowhere is the concern more pronounced than at tight end. Brock Bowers, the star of the Las Vegas offense, has been battling a persistent knee injury that has noticeably limited his mobility and impact. After a sensational performance in Week 1, where he racked up 100 receiving yards, Bowers' production has dropped dramatically, leaving fans and analysts questioning whether the Raiders' offense could operate at full strength without him at 100%. Against the Washington Commanders, his presence was felt, but not in the way Raiders fans expected. Bowers struggled to distance himself, was quickly covered by defenders, and failed to create the explosive plays that characterized him. Radio commentator Jason Horowitz highlighted a critical point. Opposing defenses no longer need to respect Bowers as a deep field threat. Not having a fully healthy Brock Bowers changes the way defenses play against this team, Horowitz noted during the broadcast. Now they can focus focus their coverage elsewhere, and that makes it much easier to neutralize the Raiders' offense. This statement underscores Bauer's importance to Las Vegas's game plan. When he's not fully fit, the offense loses not only a primary target, but also a strategic weapon capable of stretching the field and opening up passing lanes for both ground and short passes. The situation was made worse by the early departure of Michael Mayer, who suffered a head injury in the first quarter against Washington and did not return. Mayer's absence further increased the pressure on Bowers, forcing him to carry an even greater load despite the injury. The Raiders' offensive line, veteran quarterback Geno Smith, and supporting receivers now have to compensate for Bowers' limited mobility, while opponents exploit the mismatches created by a weakened tight end presence. Despite these challenges, the Raiders showed some signs of life on the ground, finishing with 93 yards against Washington, though that was far from enough to balance the offense. Geno Smith emphasized the importance of establishing the line of scrimmage early and controlling it. Beating the line of scrimmage, controlling turnovers, converting first downs, and executing in the red zone, that's how you win games, Smith said after the loss. But with Bowers not at full capacity, executing this strategy becomes significantly more difficult, and the team's options seem more limited with each snap. The stakes are even higher going forward. If Brock Bowers fails to return to full strength by week 4, the Raiders may need to explore alternative strategies, relying on younger receivers, more rushing attempts, or even unconventional play designs to compensate for the lack of a dominant tight end. Every snap now carries greater tension, and every defensive adjustment by opponents could exploit Las Vegas's weakened offense. Fans who follow closely know that the difference between a narrow loss and a victory could depend entirely on whether Bowers can rediscover the explosiveness that made him a Week 1 star. Furthermore, the team's morale and overall strategy are being tested. The combination of a struggling defense and an injured offensive player creates a precarious balance. The Raiders need to adapt quickly or risk exacerbating their problems in future games. The next few weeks will be crucial, not only for Bowers' recovery, but for the Raiders' identity as a competitive team in 2025. Will Bowers return to his dominant form and lead the offense to victories, or will the injury limit him and force the Raiders to adapt under pressure? The answer will likely define the trajectory of the Las Vegas season, making every practice, every play, and every decision crucial in the eyes of fans and analysts alike. As Raiders fans continue to watch and worry, one thing remains clear. Brock Bowers is not just a player, he is a pillar. His health, mobility, and ability to perform under pressure are directly linked to Las Vegas's ability to overcome its defensive struggles, stabilize its offense, and turn a season of doubt into a story of resilience. Time is ticking, and each game is now more than just with Max Crosby maintaining his historic sack streak, Brock Bowers looking to return to full fitness, and the team learning from the challenges. Can the Raiders bounce back and turn 2025 into a season of breakthroughs? Leave your opinion here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later to update you with the latest Raiders news.